All right, boys, we're back. Was it episode 21?
Have we ever left?
Yeah, we haven't left.
We haven't today.
Drinking age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drinking age. Woo!
I hung out with my parents when I turned 21.
You did?
Yeah, I was back in Minnesota for the summer at college because my
Loser.
birthday's in June. So I went out with them to dinner at my favorite restaurant in the town where I grew up, Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't freaking card me. I was kind of like,
Oh, you
I
wanted it.
wanted to be carded because I
Right.
could finally do it. And then had some drinks with my mom and dad, and then I went bow fishing that night.
Nice.
Got
That's
wasted.
No,
I
I
was
was by myself.
I was in Vegas when I turned 21.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I came down, did the ride of the stratosphere that shoots you up the
yeah,
stratosphere. Yep. Spent 21 in Vegas.
Sounds
All
like
right.
you guys had some awful 21st birthdays.
What'd you do?
Wasted.
No way, I'd have never thought.
Never guessed, Neville.
I was it was on spring break because my birthday's over St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah, St.
On
Patrick's
St. Patrick's Day, so it's always over spring break.
Oh, where were you? Cancun?
I think I
You
was
can't even
in-
remember.
I've gone on a lot of spring breaks.
I always went bow fishing on my spring break.
That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure I was in Breckenridge,
really what I did.
Colorado. I think we were skiing.
Oh, that's a
Oh,
good
nice. Regardless, this is episode 21, huh?
Episode 21, the Big Hunt Guys podcast. And we have a little special treat for our podcast listeners. We finally got a promo code for you guys. So anyone's listening, use promo code PODCAST. And you'll instantly get $50 back to the Go Hunt Gear Shop in points if you sign up for Insider. If you just want our Maps Only membership, Explorer, use promo code PODCAST. You'll get $20 to Go Hunt Gear Shop. Great way to get some extra gear in your pocket for upcoming season.
If you're looking for any of the Insider products or the maps,
Mm-hmm.
promo code podcast,
And remember,
and you'll get
give
gear
what?
rewards.
Gear rewards, yep. And if you are an insider or looking at being an insider, you do get all the research tools, and you also get access to all of Go Hunt Maps as well. But if you just want maps only, you get some other stuff too, Gear Shop rewards, access to Point Tracker if you just want our Maps Only Explorer membership. So
Yep, so essentially for $100 you get Insider and Maps.
and maps, yep.
And you get $50 in the gear shop.
$50. And so every point in the Go Hunt Gear Shop is worth $1. So 50 points is $50.
Nice and simple.
Simple.
Promo code podcast. Do it now. Sign
it
up.
now.
It's stupid easy. We made it so easy. We just called it podcast for the promo code.
I know the last episode we did when he was like, promo code is podcast. I'm like, that's it?
Are you
What,
sure?
what are you expecting? Something special?
I don't know.
Like,
Go Hunt podcast, GH podcast,
it's hard to remember.
Nope. Just podcast.
the podcast.
No,
No.
don't confuse them.
Don't confuse
just,
people.
Just podcast.
Podcast.
All right, fair
Mhm.
enough.
So we're here today talking strictly to Mr. Christopher Neville on the recent elk film we just released, By Blood.
By blood.
By
That's-
blood. That's a good name.
And that's you and your brother,
Wyoming elk.
Wyoming elk.
We also have a giveaway for that as well.
What's the giveaway?
Vortex Optics package.
Oh, boy.
We're trying to get to 100K subscribers, so
We're so close.
we're so close. I can almost taste it, and I want it bad.
So if you guys are listening and you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, you guys better.
Yeah.
What kind of videos we put out there?
You name it, we do it. Skills, how to, and then
Go Hunt Originals.
Go Hunt Originals.
yeah, our bread and butters, GOHUNT Originals, which we release one new film a month right now.
Yeah, we do a lot of other good stuff too. E-scouting techniques.
This podcast is
Podcast
video
on there. Yep, you can watch the podcast. You just did a big giant bow build
Mhm.
series. So that can be it's 5 total parts. So we just
Yep.
recorded the final one.
Yep, full bow build, start to finish, tune the whole 9.
So a lot of things to check out in the Go Hunt world.
So subscribe, check out that giveaway. It's in the description on that film on our YouTube channel. Vortex Optics elk hunting package.
So I've watched this film now a couple times.
Oh, I've watched it 1,000,000 times.
I know you have.
That's the worst part about it, 'cause I have to watch it the most since I'm always
Yeah.
producing and making these bad boys.
And I
Towards
think
the end, I get sick of them, especially this kind of one that's kind of a little bit of a heartbreaker.
little
Mm.
heartbreaker.
Reminds me of not so good of times.
So we're gonna spoil a lot of things right now. So if you guys haven't watched it, I would probably suggest you pause this quickly,
Right.
watch that film on YouTube, and then come back and listen to it because we're gonna dive into all the nitty-gritty details. And there's a lot of things we got to talk about.
Yeah.
I want a little more insight on a few things here.
It still haunts me to this day.
Yeah. So you guys got some tags. Obviously, right at the beginning, you find out that you're riding Josh's points.
Yeah, my brother had all the points. I had none.
That's kind of a cool brother.
Good guy.
Was there any convincing that went into that, getting him to apply with you? Not at all. He was all in.
Yeah, he was all in. Yeah, so he had 5 points and I had 0.
And he's older than you, right?
Yeah, he's 3 years.
3 years older than you?
3 years older than me. Yes, I wrote all those points and got in. Thank God. I don't think we did the special either. I think we just did the regular.
You've been pretty lucky on the regular lately.
Yeah, I've been hitting Wyoming pretty hard because I went with trail that 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Then I rode my brother's points the year after, and then now I'm going back this year.
Back for 2022.
My brother and I drew this year with 0 points.
That's back to back to back.
3-banger in Wyoming. And this might be the end of it. If Wyoming
Might
changes
be.
their non-resident.
Yeah, we had a good talk at lunch about some of those proposals, and some of those are pretty.
It's heartbreaking.
Pretty scary for a non-resident.
And I will say Wyoming is probably my favorite state.
Me too.
I love Wyoming so much.
I would actually. The hunting is so good up there. Maybe we shouldn't say this. The hunting is so good, and the opportunities are so vast for resident hunters.
Yeah.
That it makes me want to move to Wyoming.
Yeah.
Why don't we just have a satellite office where us 3,
I'm gone.
let's move to Wyoming.
Sheridan.
Does your brother have, a little
Mhm.
bit of room I can pitch a wall tent on his
Oh,
property?
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a great place up there.
Let's go.
Yeah, Riverton. I mean, I love Wyoming. I don't know. I love that whole western slope, and then you get up into north central Wyoming. You get the Bighorns. It's a beautiful country, and then tons of antelope, tons of cool deer. I mean, Wyoming's cool in that, like, if you want to hunt mule deer, you can hunt mule deer up there, like up in the Alpine. You can hunt them in kind of that transition, and then clear out to like those Badlandsy type stuff.
Yeah.
And then elk. I mean, they got tons of elk.
Everywhere. Elk Mecca.
Yeah.
Everywhere. For a general tag, I mean,
Yeah.
I look at it as when I draw a general tag, like, I look at it as like a limited
entry. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm going to have a good elk hunt for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which it is.
Yeah.
And you get
It is, yeah.
Yeah, but it's more attainable than most, but it's it's a limited entry tag. But I would say underrated for what it is, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is, when are we going to see all this throwback footage you keep teasing out all the time from you and your brother hunting back in the day? Like, when are we
I
going to
have
make
a
like a
ton of it.
full-on film about like that?
I have it all sitting in my. Well, Mather has some of our editor has a
Yeah.
bunch of it that I sent to him. Dude, but they're hard.
They're
They're hard to.
the cassette tapes from
They're
back in the day?
tiny. They're
Yeah,
like
those
the
tiny
baby
High
DVDs.
eights.
Oh, the baby DVDs?
Oh,
You got those
they're-
ones?
Okay.
Yeah, so I
had the cassette tapes back in the
cassettes,
day.
and then we got a different video camera, which was it recorded it on like a DVD that was like that size. It's like a miniature DVD.
So you're talking, what, size of a chew can? Smaller?
Yeah, probably the size of a chew can.
Wow.
So, because like back in the day when you had a DVD player, there was like a slot for like smaller ones to go into. There's the big one, and then there's a.
We're dating ourselves here.
Oh, I go back further than that. I go back to like the
A
big
smaller
VHS cameras,
Yeah.
and the high eights. So I'm even older than that.
Some of that footage is super cool. You guys even like prototypical like hunting channel type.
Oh yeah.
Type you and your brother talking.
All the time. All the time. And what sucks is a lot of it we tape over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That happens all the time back then is you would tape over your stuff that you already recorded, like recording something new if you had it stopped in a different spot.
Yeah.
So like going through the footage, you had to look through a lot of the footage because you go from like a birthday party, like Christmas, and then, like you'd be like in the middle of opening presents and it like cuts to a scene out in the woods. You're like, what in the hell? So you had to watch a lot of that footage like all the way through pretty much.
So you grew up in Iowa.
Yep.
You and Josh. And
Born and raised.
you guys are just the two of you, right?
Just the two of us.
Two brothers.
Yeah.
How'd you get into hunting? I know a little bit,
Yeah.
but like how did you, and did he get into hunting first, or how'd that work?
Well, like basically where we lived, so we had 12 acres of woods behind my house, and it was surrounded by like 300 acres of woods, which like in Iowa isn't too common because there's a lot of farmland and all that. And I think just being exposed to the woods all the time and always being out there playing and doing stuff and seeing animals that like we just naturally started like picking up. Man, we kind of want to hunt. Like we trapped a lot. My dad trapped, and then we did that, and then we kind of just like moved on to the next thing. Like, oh, we want to shoot deer.
But
And we just did that.
Your dad would never big game hunted, right?
No.
Yeah.
No one in my family's hunted from my mom's side or my dad's side. So a lot of it was, just my brother and I.
So does that kind of
Self-taught.
develop the two of you at the same time, or did he kind of like
Yeah.
bleed out? Does he always hunted, or did you kind of take more
So
interest in it?
I would always. So in Iowa, you have to be 12 years old to hunt by yourself, and since like none of my parents hunted, so we couldn't. We had to wait till we were 12, but I would go out all the time. So he's 3 years older than me, and I'd go out and sit with him.
Gotcha.
While he was like bow hunting or shotgun hunting, and I'd go out and just film deer and sit in tree stands and watch stuff till I turned 12, passed my hunter safety, then I was able to go on my own.
That footage is so cool. Like
Yeah.
it is pretty sweet that you guys like took the effort back in the day to do it, because probably looking back on that footage, it's funny,
Yeah.
but it's also like you guys set yourself up for what you're doing right now, basically, because
Right.
you both were super passionate about hunting, and now you both are in quote unquote the hunting industry. Like
Yeah.
your paths, like you kind of knew what you wanted to do, and you both have ended up in a sweet position in life.
Where did that come from as far as like the whole video side of things? Like what were you guys picking up on? Did you have outdoor television?
Oh yeah, loved watching Outdoor Channel.
Did you watch like
All the DVDs, you had like all the Primos elk DVDs, all the hunting DVDs. And I think we got our filming stuff because like my dad was always like filming us at birthday parties, Christmas and stuff. So then we just use that same camera. And then we'd watch all this Outdoor Channel on TV, and then we just would
You're kind
go
of
out and make the same exact thing. We'd
Yeah.
drive around talking like,
like you were on an outdoor television show.
Right.
yes.
Did you
So
say
a
it
lot
was-
of practice?
Did you say something there like it was like North American something or whatever
Yeah.
you like your show is called?
North America Whitetail, which I think is
Actual
was an
thing.
actual show back then. I think Stan Potts was on that one.
Oh yeah.
He has
Stan
the
Fox.
best celebrations ever.
What a
after
legend.
Yeah,
he
he
shoots a
does.
deer.
That's right.
He gets
Stan
so
Potts,
fired
That's
up.
beast.
legendary.
Yes. But yeah, a lot of it's just watching. Watched a ton of Outdoor Channel. Watched a lot of.
Did you ever watch TNN back in the
DVDs.
day? That old channel on. Remember TNN? It's like outdoor shows on Saturday mornings.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it was before
What's
like
that?
Outdoor Channel and Sportsman's Channel and all that.
Yeah. Isn't that the TED? No, that's
No.
TNT, huh? I'm thinking of. Yeah, you're talking like the shows that would come on like one Saturday morning.
Saturday mornings, all
Yeah.
the fishing shows. You would have
Yeah.
like old Bill Jordan stuff back
Oh
in the
yeah,
day.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I watched all that too. I was like you. I remember I went to college. This really dated me. Like I was in college, but I remember like going down. There was like a local video rental place there in Logan where I was going to school, and you could like rent hunting videos.
Yeah.
And I would
We
rent
did.
like all the Primo stuff, like
Yep.
Yeah.
all those DVDs and VHS.
Yeah, the real tree.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah, we could get hunting magazines at my local
hmm
whatever it is bookstore thing. Like rent them, and I'd just sit there and read them. And
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching tons of those. That's funny.
Well, yeah, it's kind of the story of this hunt was, we grew up hunting, basically learning how to hunt from each other and always being with each other in the woods. And then, like, as we've gotten older, our career paths took us different directions, took us in different states. So then it was harder to find the time where everything could connect and meet up at the same time that we could go hunting again. And it just so happened on this hunt that we had, like, the perfect amount
Yeah.
of time that we could go on this hunt together. So it's kind of like a rekindling of what it was back in the day when we were younger to this hunt now.
because you guys have, you've elk hunted for quite a while now. Like
Yeah.
you guys have
Yeah,
hunted.
so we've that's how we both learned how to Western hunt. Is we did the same thing everyone else does. Colorado,
Yeah, OTC.
over the counter, go out there and not know what the hell you're doing. Dude, I remember the first sleeping pad I had was just the foam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Last time I did that.
you learned real quick.
Oh my God. I woke up every morning and my back was broke.
Maybe
Spinal.
that's what's wrong with you now.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was.
All those nights in the woods with no
Yeah.
sleeping pad.
Yeah, it's funny, just like all the gear that you have back then, you just realize how fast you realize how important like good gear is and what it can do on a hunt.
Yeah. So you guys still hunt? I mean, do you make a priority to hunt together? I mean, how does that work out? Do you guys get along? Are you guys close?
Yeah, we're pretty close. Yeah, but because what he ended up going like into the fishing world more. So like his time off and like what he was doing for his job, like he was out fishing and that was most of his time off, and that's kind of like what he honed into. And then for me, mine was hunting, and that's what I honed in. And a lot of it were hunts that we're filming and doing content for. So it's just kind of like in different directions in different areas to like where we could just meet up and have a hunt.
So you're going on this hunt. What kind of like prep did you have for it? Like you said, you already had some intel.
Yeah, we can't say, or else we'll give up the spot. Even though some people already know where the spot is.
Oh yeah.
But we knew there was elk there.
Yeah.
It was just whether or not when we were going to find them.
Mm-hmm. So you get in there. That's snowstorm.
Dude, that
was
was the
pretty
year I
crazy.
got snowed on every single hunt from August all the way.
Oh yeah, that was the year
to
of the
the end of the
caribou
year.
hunt. You got
Every
snowed on.
single hunt I went on that fall, I got snowed on.
Yes, it was early and often. It felt like
Yes.
last year.
Rain and snow. Yeah, so Josh and I just got back from that caribou hunt with Trail, where we had shitty weather and snow and all that. As we're hiking in, just pouring down rain. We get to the first spot. We run into a couple people that already had shot a bull.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they weren't too far in. They already had good luck. They shot like 2 bulls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so then we went in a little bit further. Started raining.
What dates did you go?
What was it?
I mean, you've got the whole month of September.
It had to have been, I want to say it was like the 15th to the 26th.
Okay.
Like
So kind of prime time.
yeah, something like that.
So you ran into these 2 guys and they'd already killed two bulls? Is that
Yeah.
discouraging to you? Or are you just like, whatever?
Well, they were in a spot we were going to go past anyway,
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
and they knew right away who we were. It was
They
one of
did?
those- Oh, yeah. Because you have the cameraman with you, and they're like, oh, you guys are the GOHUNT guys, aren't you? They're probably pissed, like, here we go. They're gonna blow up my spot now.
Were they locals, you think?
Yeah. I think it was an outfitter, but they were spiked camping there. Like,
Mm.
they didn't have any horses, but horses get to them pretty easily.
Sure.
But yeah, then it starts raining. We put up our tents that night, heard some bugles, wake up that next morning, just kind of we had like a spot in mind that we are trying to get to that was a little bit further in. And then it started snowing. And it snowed probably like 6 inches.
Cold?
Oh my God.
It looked really
Freezing.
cold.
Freezing.
That one morning, you guys were making a little campfire.
Dude, we had like, I had my bow out, and that thing, I've never had this having completely ice.
Yeah.
Because it was like really wet, and then it was snowy. It's just icy.
Yeah, that's
My bow was completely frozen, so we had to make a fire to melt,
what you were doing.
like melt the ice off our bows.
Because that Stone Glacier tent you had does not have a big enough vest to be able to throw a bow underneath there.
No. I was just doing what Trail does, just throw it underneath a tree.
Yeah.
It works. It always warms up.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, typically it does.
I knew I should put my rain fly over it. I'm like, damn it. Because then you have to make a fire in the morning. That was really pissing me off.
Yeah, so you wasted some hunting time doing
Everything's
that.
just soaking wet.
So was that your first day in there? Your first full day? Or was it second full day?
That would have been... Yeah, that would have been the evening of our first full day.
It started snowing.
Yeah, it started snowing.
So it's kind of a bummer to start to the hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It goes both ways, right? You get that cold snap. Maybe the bulls, pipe up and get going because it's a little cooler, and they've got less to worry about being so hot running
Right.
around. But then it's also it just makes things harder. It's cold. Everything's wet.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a good feeling on the backside of that
It was gonna be good.
yeah, it should be good.
When that storm broke. So when did the storm break? Did it snow all night?
Yeah, it snowed all night. That next morning it broke. And they weren't as fired up as I thought. Like, we probably heard one bugle. They weren't bugling in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
Hardly ever. But I think it was a full moon for like the first 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So I think they were up a lot.
Up all night.
Yeah, up all night. And they were hitting the bed pretty early. So we wouldn't hear a lot of bugles in the morning. I think it was the second day. Then we just so happened to be like, we're moving camps again, going across this. We're like across the canyon of this huge north-facing slope. And one popped off a couple times. And we knew he was going to bed in there. So then we kind of went in there. We tried calling at him. And my guess is we thought we were closer than what we were. And he didn't bugle or anything. So then we just kind of backed out, ate some lunch, just kind of waited. Figured that he was bedded in there. Then he let off a couple bugles. And then that's when all hell broke loose.
That was an interesting scene, too, because you can tell you guys are stalking for the snow. It makes it probably a little quiet.
Yeah,
Get in
so,
there.
and then it was, all the snow was melting. So it was like really
Yeah,
loud.
that's
like,
the point I was going to bring up. Like,
Dripping.
Yeah, just dripping everywhere.
you guys
snow.
are just getting soaked while you're standing there, cold. Like, you
Yeah.
can see Josh, like, every time he breathes, like, you can see all that,
Yeah.
just the breath coming
And what
out.
happened was we heard him bugling, and we thought he was walking away from us down this ridge. So we just started going beeline right at him, and we ran into one of his cows bedded, like 30 yards. The little calf got up, just kind of meandered around. Then basically what I did, I called this calf in. I just gave it some, and then it started coming around, and then the bull was not too happy about that. He started ripping.
So what time of day would you say that was?
That was probably noon, 1 o'clock.
So they were bedded,
They were-
and he had his little harem bedded, and
Right.
and he probably piped off a couple times from his bed, and then
One of his cows got up. And
he got up to check things out.
Yeah.
Which I think is that's a great point. I've killed most of the elk that I've called in. I've killed during that time of day, like kind of that mid-afternoon when they've probably been on the go all morning, found their bedded down, and then you kind of just creep in. And if you can keep those bulls talking like just enough to like get you close, I think sometimes you can have really good luck. Just a couple cow calls, and he'll get up to kind of check things out.
Yeah, and I think for that we really got fortunate that we had the snow and all that cover, because like we essentially bumped one of his cows, but we didn't bump her so bad, like she was still in her bed and she didn't know what we were and just kind of got up and started walking around. And then once he got up, she completely forgot about us because he started pushing her through the woods.
So is he bugling at that point?
Oh, but
You fired him up real good.
Oh God, he was ripping in our face.
That's exciting.
Yeah, he was. And we had this one clearing off to the left where if he would have came in, it seriously would have been a 10-yard shot, like wide open, perfect. Like it was a clearing, and you could see that it was just thick where they were in their bedding. And he just kind of worked. He worked up and around that, and just kept going through thick stuff. My brother, full draw,
Yeah.
pulling down, pulling back, pulling down, pulling back.
Why don't
He's just
elk
pushing it?
Why don't they ever know the script? They don't realize you're filming. You're supposed to come out in the open.
Yeah.
10 yards, just slam dunk.
Yeah, it was pretty high tense. Because he was 20 yards away from us, just behind the thickest brush ever.
And just screaming.
Just ripping. Just going back and forth. And like you can hear the cow. And I'm like 10 feet behind Josh. I'm like facing the opposite direction, so I sound like I'm further down. Further down there, so I'm like trying to lure in this cow because it was a calf, like a baby. I was trying to just like, come over here. Get over here.
Get over here.
And finally it came out, and if the bull would have came out right where the calf would have been, 5-yard shot. So the calf comes down through the trees like 5 yards in front of my brother. And then the bulls, he worked back around to try to cut it off, and it was probably like 30 yards. And then that's when you see the cow. Because, like, my brother took one step to the left to, like, clear lane, and that's when the cow spooked. And then the bull came out at, like, 30 yards and shot it.
Yeah, so as you're watching that, to me, I remember looking at it, and you kind of see this elk move. And I remember, as I watched the video a few times, like, my eyes focusing on this elk, and this elk kind of spooks, right? And it runs off. And I'm thinking, like, oh, that's the bull. And then you see the bow go off, and I'm thinking, like, did that elk move and then he shot? But then I watched a few times, and you actually see the bull kind of coming back behind that cow, and he's just kind of working the fringe of that timber,
right?
And kind of just he must just pop out like 30 yards from Josh.
Like, 30 yards, and he was just behind. Like you could tell he was trying to loop back around to cut off where she was walking. And then from where I was standing, I was, like I said, like 10 feet behind Josh. And where I was standing, right when the shot went off initially, I couldn't tell like which angle it was to Josh, but to me, it was perfect up and down, like perfect dead center in the body. The only thing is like directly behind that shoulder, like tight. Like it was tight behind the shoulder.
Quartering away?
Yeah, and then come to find out, he said it was quartering away a little bit. And then it would have been uphill from where he was at. So he was technically shooting uphill. But like initially, I was like,
dead bull.
Yeah, because he got enough penetration where I knew he didn't like hit the shoulder.
He didn't hit a joint or anything.
Yeah, like it was over half the arrow was in it, and he was shooting a giant fucking broadhead.
Yeah, and I even saw you guys too. It was really kind of exciting right away. I was like, you guys were both jacked on how big that bull was.
Yeah,
and how it just came together just like that.
Yeah, he was a solid 6 point for sure.
Yeah, there's that one clip you can kind of see his back end as he comes through, and you can see
he's
got a pretty decent, good fifth. You know, you can tell he's a nice 6 point bull.
Yeah, that's the hard part about the film is you can't. It was so hard to get a good look at him. Whereas like we can see him doing all this shit, but like where our cameraman was, it's hard to see like a really good picture of that bull through all that thick stuff.
Yeah, it's really hard to. I mean, it's hard to explain, but it's pretty dang tough to get an elk to do exactly what you want it to, and get everything to work out exactly on film. I mean, there's just so many variables, being in the right spot. And I mean, the camera guy's trying to do his job, but then he's also trying to not impede on your, what you're trying to do. It can be really tough.
Yeah, because I told him, I said, don't move. Like, these elk are on top of us. Like, you do
can't
not move.
Yeah.
Like, we need you to sit right there. Because he was a little bit further behind Josh, too. He was, like, right in between us.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't right next to Josh, like, see what he was seeing.
Yeah.
So you think that bull come into a cow call? Is that, I mean...
Yeah, we cow called that. I mean,
just cow call?
He for sure heard us bugling that first time we went in on him.
Mm-hmm.
We were just too far. Like, we were out of his, where he didn't feel threatened.
Yeah.
I'm sure he heard those bugles. But then once we got in there, he liked the cow calls.
What were you using for a cow call?
The easy estrus.
Easy estrus,
Yeah,
bite and blow.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is this one of those situations? Obviously, I don't elk hunt, so I'm just gonna ask her probably a dumb question. Like, were you as a caller, could you have done something different looking back now to maybe pull that bull into that opening, or was it just kind of it's random because he had that cow there, and so he's kind of just like you said, cutting that cow off? Or is there anything else you could have done?
No, he was pretty much focused on that cow and zigzagging in this. I think the only time when we thought he was like walking away, I'd like blow a call different. Like, I was trying to steer him like with way I was like calling, like looking different directions.
Okay.
It seemed like I was somewhere else to try to like make him try to come back. But what I was doing, I was just calling in the cow. The cow was trying to find me the whole time, and it did. The cow came.
Yeah, right to you.
Like, it was 5 feet from him and 2 feet from me. Like, the cow was right on top of us.
That can be really frustrating.
Yeah.
I know that year I took my kid on that first season Colorado rifle hunt. It was early October 10th. And, I mean, we had multiple times when I called bulls in, but, he came in pushing, 10 to 15 cows and calves. And we had, 2 times where we had cows at 6 feet, just like right in front of us. And I'm, I got my hand on my kid's shoulder, just like, do not move, and I mean, inevitably they're going to see you and bust you. And like, that bull's just right there. It can be so hard. It can be so frustrating.
Cows always getting in the way. They're always ruining things.
Mm-hmm. Those cows are little protectors, I think.
Cows and trees.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that shot, and then
I got to talk about
the shots.
I mean, I wanted to commend Josh on the way he yanks that bow back.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, he gets
pulls
it back.
that sucker quick.
Yeah,
I'm getting a full draw now.
I think that was like his third or fourth time like coming to full
Oh,
draw.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he drawn back probably 3 or 4 times before that. He let down, pull back, let down, pull back.
Yeah, man, he got it back, and he was buried in the back wall. He was ready to go.
Ready to go.
Yeah. So when he shoots, what's your feeling? You're thinking dead bull?
Yeah, I instantly thought dead bull when I saw
No
it.
hesitation, dead bull.
Yeah, I thought for sure dead bull. And then it's always one of those things. I think you can get a better feel for what the shot was by like reading the person that shot it, right?
Oh yeah.
Because they either have an instinct of like if they're confident and they are, then you have a good idea that it's probably a good shot from like what I saw. But then when I started talking, like I could tell he was a little hesitant and like he wasn't for sure about the shot.
You can kind of see that on the film too. Like either he's just stone cold in the moment, but the way he's just sitting there and not like saying anything after the shot, he's probably just trying to process like, did I make a good shot? Was it?
So when I realized that, I figured there was something that I wasn't seeing. And that's when I started talking to him. I was like, what angle was it at? And he's like, it was quartering away. And then I instantly thought, I'm like, shit, he's tight to the shoulder and quartering away. Like, there's a lot that can go wrong there.
Yeah, you might be in front of the vitals.
Right.
Just a game of inches at that point.
Yeah.
Like, literally is.
Yeah. But the thing that he was shooting a 3-blade expandable, so I'm like, God, he got that much penetration, a 3-blade expandable.
Yeah.
Like, he had to have hit something.
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought about this situation a lot, and at the time that I didn't think about, that I've realized now, that I think played a big factor in that shot was the elevation of that bull compared to where he was. So that the bull was higher than him, so he was shooting uphill. And there's nothing up there. Nothing good when the arrow's going up, especially if you shoot it tight to the shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing. I think everybody thinks behind the shoulder. You know what I mean? That's what you're thinking, right? That's like the shot for an archer is behind the shoulder. And a lot of those times, like as the angle of the animal changes, I mean, if he's quartering away from you, at that point, it almost feels odd, but you're moving that point of impact back body. I mean, you're wanting to hit like just inside maybe the last rib. And I mean, I've always thought that you kind of aim for that opposite leg, you know, and you're kind of trying to angle that arrow up through the vitals. But like in the moment, man, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to keep everything together,
Yeah. If you looked at it broadside and where he shot it would have been
Dead
like
bull.
where you put like a pin on it to shoot a bull.
Yeah.
Like perfect up and down, just right behind the shoulder, like tight against that shoulder.
So that was kind of like a very similar shot that you had in Wyoming a couple years ago. Then, weren't you shooting at a bull like uphill?
Uphill. Yeah, and my shot was high, and I still was able to get both lungs, fortunate, but it was perfectly broadside.
Yeah, high lung. So after he shot, it sounds like he was a little hesitant, and that is a hard feeling. Like it's a hard.
I
feeling.
can tell because he is kind of like a pessimistic a little bit sometimes, and when it comes to like. He's like he doesn't want that bad juju of like jinxing it.
Yeah,
he's like one of those. He's like seriously one of the guys. He's like, don't say it's dead till we find it.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to jinx anything, and I'm over there like, dude, that bull is dead. That bull is done.
You're celebrating.
Oh, I'm jinxing it so bad.
Did you guys just hang out then?
Yeah. So we waited 30, 40 minutes before we took up the trail. I mean, I wasn't too worried. I mean, we're tracking in snow, so we were gonna find blood.
You didn't hear it fall though.
No, didn't hear it fall. But then I was thinking, well, the ground's covered in snow.
And you had all that rain, that melt coming down.
Sometimes you don't.
Yeah, sometimes you don't. And then we picked up the trail and we were finding blood here and there, and like it was, you could tell it was coming out of one side, just on his right side, just the blood, and we're following it. And as you keep going further and further, the arrow's still in it. Like, it was decent enough blood for me to think, like, all right, I'm feeling good about this. And then just further and further and further, and pretty soon you're like 300 yards. And I'm like, we might need to sit and think about what's going on here.
Yeah. From a blood perspective, I mean, what were you seeing? Color? I mean, I've been through this before, and I kind of know you're thinking about every possible scenario. You're thinking about the color of the blood. You're get down on your knees and smell it. You're looking for any kind of green or anything like that.
I'm like looking for air bubbles.
But the blood you were seeing, I mean, what was it like?
Once we got to like 300 yards and we hadn't found it dead yet. What I was starting to think was, with what the knowledge I knew of where the shot was, tight to the shoulder, quartering away, I started thinking maybe he only clipped one lung. Like, we're seeing one, because it looked decent enough to think like it was a shot that would kill the animal. So then I started thinking, we might be looking at a one lung hit, which they can go a long ways with one lung.
Yeah.
What's Josh's demeanor like at that point?
Not very happy.
Not good.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was because you're already. Yeah, it's just like depressing. It's very like takes the wind out of your sails a little bit.
As his brother and kind of his hunting partner, I mean, what are you talking to him? Like, what's your self-talk at that point?
I was telling him, like, dude, we'll find this bull. Like, I've tracked enough animals. Yeah. Like, I felt like I was we've done this enough times that, like, we're good enough trackers. Like, even if it is maybe not the best shot, like, we'll be able to find it. Like, I didn't have it. We have snow. We could follow his tracks. Like, we're in perfect conditions to find this bull. And I was still confident, like, even if it was a one lung shot or something, that we would be able to find it sooner or later. And then we sat for like a couple hours. And we picked up the trail again. And then when it started going straight uphill, I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. And then we found the arrow, and he was going up. I mean, straight uphill, just marching.
Is he bleeding a lot going uphill?
Not a ton. Not a ton. Like, we were always like able to find blood, but it wasn't like.
It's not dumping.
You weren't just like walking. Every once in a while you'd have that, but then we found the arrow, and we saw that he got decent penetration. It was probably like half, maybe a little over half the arrow.
So you found the back half, Fletch in?
Fletch. The only thing that was still in him was in that broadhead.
Yeah, the
Right.
broadhead was missing. I noticed that.
Yeah, the whole insert was still in him.
The whole elk going uphill thing is interesting because I think there's, I mean, you always hear like, you know, an animal that's hit hard, hit well, it won't go uphill. I mean, I've shot a bull. I shot a bull out of a wallow one time, 40 yards, went downhill, turned, and went straight up a hill. I mean,
Did it?
yeah, 150 yards, stone dead on top of this little knoll. And I remember, you know, I hiked. He was in a wallow, so he was, you know, muddy. And I shot him, you know, maybe an hour and a half before dark. And I couldn't find blood, but I was following like mud and water. And turned, and same thing, just like you. I looked up the hill, and I was like,
Son of a bitch.
I don't think he's went up that hill. Elk hit hard don't go uphill, you know. But like I'm starting to see like little drops of mud and water, and up you go. And like he was dead right there on the top. So I mean, generally I would say it's not the case that they do, but sometimes they do.
Right. I mean, elk are
Giant,
tough animals.
tough.
They can go, no doubt.
Yeah.
And then by this time we've probably gone mile. Hadn't taken a single bed yet. Went up the hill.
You've gone a whole mile.
Yeah.
Are you tracking this Like-
yeah.
with your app, your map app?
Yeah. Yeah. We're just kind of like showing where we last saw blood, and like by the time he got all the way up to the top of the hill, like it was probably a mile.
Wow.
And then that's when it. Because once he got up on top of the hill, he was essentially going from a north facing to a south facing that had no snow.
Yeah.
Man, blood tracking for a mile is tedious.
Oh my God.
I mean, even if it's a relatively good blood trail, I mean, that is tedious. Like, that's a long ways.
And the whole entire time you're just beat down. Like,
Yeah, and then we get to the top and you see it's just sage, and you're like, oh, this is going to be tricky. This is going to be tricky. Dude, and we shot it at 1, started tracking at 2, and we tracked all the way till sunset. Like,
Okay.
we were on blood, found blood the whole time. And then once it got to that south facing, like, it was hard to find blood, and you're basically just going off its tracks. And then then he went back, he'd go into some patches of snow that were, like, the trees still had snow, and we'd find some blood. But yeah, then after that day, it was like,
So did you camp that night, just right there, and then
yeah, we had the camp on our backs the whole time, so then
Mhm.
we just
pick it up the next morning?
picked it up the next morning. And then that night, if you watch the film, there's like, you had to be there to understand what he's talking about. Josh is like, yeah, I was screaming and yelling last night. I had night terrors. And no shit. So I wake up and I hear him just screaming and yelling.
really? I thought it was like kind of
Wait,
a joke.
what?
Yeah.
He was.
So he does this shit. He talks in his sleep all the time.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's like, hello. He's yelling in his. You're like, we're in our separate tents. And I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden I hear him like, hey, hello, hello, just yelling hello. I'm
Are
like,
you like, shut up?
yeah, I'm like, Josh, what? And then he woke up and he went back to sleep.
Has he always done that?
Yeah, yeah, he always has done that.
There's got to be some good stories there in
Yeah,
him.
he always has some like, he's always talking and sleep and shit. But
So he was having night terrors.
yeah, that's
Huh.
when you see the scene and he's like, yep, I had some night terrors last night. And like it seems like,
Wow.
oh, he just had bad dreams. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you're screaming and yelling. Like he was legit screaming and yelling in his tent.
Oh my
And
god.
Joe's like, what was that? Our cameraman. I'm like, yeah, he talks in his sleep sometimes.
It's like that scene from Step Brothers
Oh yeah.
where they get up and annihilate the kitchen and
Yeah.
go back to bed. That's how I picture Josh.
But yeah, then it was, I mean, basically the same thing the next day of tracking.
Is this when you got into that timber patch and
Yeah, we split up. So it was like we had this plan, like, you know, we're kind of gridded. Like now we're just going off hoof prints. There's hoof prints everywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
you don't-
got to be hard?
Like
So
I
much
have this
elk.
picture of his hoof. Like I've seen it 1,000 times. Like it's this humongous, perfect square, like big elk.
Big pie plate.
Yeah. Then you'd see like, oh, this is it. And you're kind of following that same path up there. Then it goes into a game trail and you lose. And yeah, then we ended up just somehow like gridding and looking, and we split up. And I had no clue where he went. And I'm like looking over here, and I'm just like, oh, let me bugle a couple times. Nothing.
Yeah.
Dude, and then the thing was, like, we weren't even that far apart. Like, this is when I realized, like, hearing bugles, like, we weren't even that far, and he couldn't hear my bugle. And then we finally I came around this edge, and I could see him, and I was bugling as hard as I could, and he could not hear it. Like, I could see him with my eye, just ripping bugles, and he could not hear it.
Interesting.
Yeah, Josh was just off in his own little world, or
Yeah, he was just following. He's like, I thought you guys just kept going down this ridge.
So did you spend that whole day looking?
The whole entire day. We're scanning. It's like,
so you're almost at 2 full days right now. Because
Yeah.
you're shot him at 1,
Yeah,
start
so
tracking him at 2.
we got to the backside of this, and there's only so many dark timber patches. It's like we're just like checking them off, just going through them. Like, we're figuring, like, oh, he went in a dark timber patch. Like, he had to have bedded down if he was, like, fatally hit. He'd bed down sooner or later. Checked him, nothing. And then we see birds flying, like, over this one. I'm like, all right, end of the day, like, we have nothing to lose.
Let's go check it out.
Let's go check it out. And I'm walking down, and I see antlers. I'm like, holy fuck.
Found it.
I cannot believe we just found this thing. And as like I'm getting closer, I'm like, I can see that it's fully quartered. Elk's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And as I'm getting closer, I'm like, oh shit.
Did Josh see
This
the
is
bull the
not his
same
bull.
time? Like, did you call him over and say, hey, I see a bull?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I think I see something over here.
Oh, man.
And I think he
You're
was
just going from the lowest lows
Ugh.
down to the high right away.
Yeah, and then back to the
Low.
lowest.
The thing is, we didn't really get like super high because
Instantly you could tell it was quartered, right?
it was quartered. It was a lot smaller, so it was like maybe like a second. We're just like, oh my god, there it is. And then as we're getting closer, it's just like, that's not our bull.
Yeah.
Fully quartered out. There's a little 5-point.
So what's the story with that bull? I mean, what do you make of it? You walk up on a bull in the woods, and how far do you think you were from where he shot it at that point?
Probably a couple miles.
A couple miles. You walk up
It's
on
probably
it.
a couple miles by like foot, but if you looked just like by crow, it wasn't. It was just on the other side of the face.
Okay.
But yeah.
So what do you think? What's the story there? What do you make of it?
So when we got lost, I was up on this really high knob, just like trying to find him, and I saw a guy with a mule
Okay.
going on this trail, cutting towards that direction, which like you could tell there's definitely horses. Like we've seen horses in there, and this guy was going by, and I was running down to him actually. Like I run down this hill to try to grab this guy to be like, hey, have you seen a dead bull? Have you seen my brother? Have you found anything?
I'm lost.
I don't know where I'm at right now.
Do you have any food?
Yeah. And I'm sprinting down here. I could not catch up to him. So then he was gone. And then I found Josh again. And then what I think happened was from when we got up to this dead bull, like it was shot in the guts. You could see there's like a huge wound in the guts.
Which is totally different than where you guys shot.
Right.
So you instantly knew.
Yeah.
And you can also tell like that rack is completely different.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a 5-point.
Yeah,
Right.
you guys were going after a big 6.
And so what I figured happened was he shot it in the guts, so it probably took him a little time to track it, probably couldn't find it right away. So I think when he did find it, like he knew he didn't have a lot of time, so I think he just completely quartered it out, took all the meat,
Right.
and left the head. Like, can't eat the head, like I'll come back and get this later.
Yeah.
So I think he was just trying to get all of his meat out as quick as possible, then come back and get the head.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it was a weird thing. You get there and you're like, fuck, what's going on here? Why is there just an elk with a head and nothing else?
I just can't imagine. I mean, I'm sure I would feel so gutted.
You'd be
you know?
defeated.
I'd be so defeated because, I mean, you think you found your bull, you're excited about it, and then, you know, within the exact same instant, you're just like, that's not my bull.
It was
That's
terrible.
somebody else's bull.
It was absolutely terrible. And then after that, I was just like,
You're just toast.
I'm done. I was like, let's go sleep. And then that night, oh my God, Jurassic Park.
Really?
Dude, bugles everywhere, just ripping everywhere.
So is it like, I think he said it too, it's like adding salt to the wound.
Yeah, you're just sitting there and just elk are ripping everywhere. And you're like, God damn it.
Like that night or like middle of the night?
Middle of the night.
Yeah.
Like we had one, I bet you 50, we're camped 20 yards from like this humongous old wallow.
Uh-huh.
There's no water anymore, but it's just a giant wallow. And it's kind of like a open prairie pasture kind of thing, and one just cranked at that, like 50 yards from the tee.
What do you make? What's the next decision, I guess, you make? So you make camp that night, elk are bugling. I mean, did you guys talk that night about what the rest of your hunt, what to do? How do you make that decision to either keep hunting or, pack it up, head back? I mean, what's that like?
Yeah, so that night we talked, and we kind of decided we had a couple more dark timber patches that we hadn't checked.
So you want to go back and grid some more?
Yeah. So there's like, we've checked everything besides these two. Like, let's just check it off so then we know we've
due diligence.
We've done all that we could.
Mm-hmm.
So we got up that morning, we checked those, nothing. We ran into a hunter. We asked him like, "Hey, have you seen any dead elks?" Well, he's like, "Nope, nothing." And then that's kind of like after we checked that spot that next day, we're just like made a decision. Well, like to me, at that point is that bull is just as good alive as it is dead. Like there's no way of,
You just don't know.
we don't know, and there's literally nothing else we could do.
Yeah.
That's hard.
So you looked for another day. Then you checked the next two timber patches and kind of checked those off
Yeah,
your
so
list.
it's
So at
like-
that point,
yeah.
you're like 3 days of looking.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they said in the film 40 hours total, so that's 3 full days
Yeah,
of
Wow.
just mental defeat.
yeah. So it's just
Hard
like
thing just to swallow.
Yeah, that is hard.
from what we saw and what we did, to us it leads us to believe that elk is still alive.
Yeah.
Like we didn't find it.
Yeah, and I mean, if he's gone a mile, that's what's interesting to me. When you say he's gone a mile, up and over a hill, and you haven't found any signs of him like bedding. He's not pooling blood. I mean, an elk that's fatally hit, even an elk that's hit one lung, isn't going a mile usually. I mean,
Right.
they may hole up and kind of lay down and take a break because one lung is a significant deal.
Right.
So, the fact that you've trailed him, at least that far and then spent, 2 more whole days looking, the likelihood of him still being on the hoof and cruising around breeding cows is pretty good.
Is there something to be said, too? Because obviously when you found the arrow, and after this 3 full days of tracking it, now you're like thinking he could be still alive, that broadhead just did probably lodge in some bone, and that's why the broadhead, you didn't recover it, it broke off, and like you hit a bone, and that elk
Right.
totally could just be alive.
Yeah. My theory is it went from where he was standing above Josh and quartering away and the shot being tight on the shoulder. I'm saying it went over the top of the lungs. Because the further front you go in an animal, the lungs go down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he just went like right here. And the arrow was going up. So I think it went over the top of the lungs in that like dead space above their
Mm-hmm.
like shoulder blades and like jammed into its other shoulder,
Opposite
yeah,
front.
like neck
Yeah.
area, like that muscle.
This is kind of what I did. So obviously, everyone knows I lost a giant deer in Colorado in 2015, and I was like the same thing, just mentally destroyed. Still am to this day. One thing I had on my phone, I still have it too. It's like you're saying, like the animal anatomy and where the lungs are and everything. I have this app on my phone that actually is animal anatomy, and it's like a 3D view.
It's
And
a good tip.
And I actually can take that and I can move it around. You can like layer on the bones, then layer on all the organs and everything in there, and you can move it at certain angles, and you can kind of then reposition it to how that animal was. And I was like, well, I hit it this last rib, and for you guys, you could just like,
Mm-hmm.
we hit it right here. Was there any lungs there? And like you're saying, it probably didn't hit any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But like having that app like that, like kind of
Yeah, it gives you
And
a better view of
better view, and they can understand that you did do your diligence, and the elk is probably still alive. But like I was on that app for every single day after I hit that buck and was trying to find it. Like, I know I hit it here. Could have I hit that little bit of a liver? Could have I hit that artery? Like, just trying to like reassure myself, like I know it's dead or what's going on. Like just trying to get a closure somehow. But
Yeah, it's always tough, and then it's always a tough like what do we do?
yeah, no.
Yeah.
What do you do? That's always the hardest question. The biggest thing in hunting is what do you do after this?
And then to me, I said, well, that bull is still alive, so we'll keep hunting.
Yeah.
And whatever people gave me hate for it, I don't, that was my decision from what I did and all my due diligence.
You guys put in the
I
work.
came up to the evidence saying more than likely that bull is alive.
Yeah,
Still.
not fatally hit.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're not going to find it, so let's keep hunting.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I remember I went with a buddy one time, and he shot a cow on a late season rifle hunt. And it was close enough to a road we could, get it out relatively easily. And so I gutted it for him. And I remember reaching up in there to, pull out that upper portions of, innards. And I grabbed onto something, and I was like, that feels weird. It felt like a handle, like up in there, right? And kind of separated and looked up in there, and it's exactly like you're saying. There was an arrow. Somebody had shot that bull uphill. Or not a bull, it was a cow. Shot this cow uphill, and she had broken that arrow off on either side of the cavity. So it gone through both sides, but just, wedged in underneath. And it was just underneath her backbone, her spine, maybe an inch and a half, 2 inches, and, above the lungs. And that just grown over. There was just like all this tissue growing around it, but it was just a hunk of carbon arrow.
Just in there.
Just stuck in there. But, that cow was an old, big cow. And, I mean, she was as healthy as could be.
Yeah.
So you don't know. And
Right.
I keep going back to it, but like if you followed that bull for a mile, he's not fatally hit.
No. Yeah, it didn't bed once. That was the thing that kept getting me. Is like, if a bull is fatally hit, it's going to have to take a bed.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, it's going to have to bed. Did not find a single bed.
Yeah. So you guys make the decision to keep hunting, right?
To keep hunting. We're back at it, and we knew there was elk there, so we could hear them all night the night before. So we had a good game plan.
Yeah.
They're just over in this basin over here in this dark timber. So
you guys chase elk in there for how many more days? I mean, it'd have
been 2 or probably 3 more days.
So you're out for what
Yeah.
at this point? 7 days, 8 days?
Yeah. Yeah, and then they were rutting hard. No doubt about it. And it was one of those things. I mean, we were just always behind them. Everything we try to do, you could hear them. We're like, all right, let's get it right here and cut them off. Get in front of them, get in front of them. And we could just never get in front of them. Just always just like a hair behind them.
That's what I noticed. You guys were close.
Oh my
so
God.
many times in this film. You were in bulls.
Dude, it was one of those where there's so many elk everywhere just running around. They just would pop up out of nowhere.
Surprise.
And you're looking this way, and all of a sudden you look to your left, and there's shit, there's an elk right there looking at us. They're just running around, rutting hard.
Did you say, oh no, there's a bull?
Oh no. Like I did in Wyoming.
Yeah.
That's about how it was. Surprise attack.
Yeah.
One thing, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead or where this fits in, but you had that bull coming on that wallow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was that situation like? How close were you guys to that bull?
Why didn't you shoot that bull?
Yeah, why didn't you shoot that bull? Were you guys sitting on the wallow, or just came across the wallow and then he came in quick?
So we chased this whole herd of elk. We knew they're in there bedding, and we were coming down from the top. It was in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, probably so, and we knew they were down the bottom, all bedded, midway up, and we're working down, and then we bumped into this elk bedded right next to a wall. And he just kind of got up. So then what it did was it slowed us down to get in there. And then by the time we got down to where all the elk were, they already were up moving. So then it was back to a chase. And then, I don't know, Josh just didn't want to shoot it.
Didn't want to shoot it, huh?
Too young.
Okay.
Just a little guy.
Looked like he could have.
Oh, yeah.
He
Definitely
looked
could have shot it.
close.
He was. We were 30, 40 yards. Yeah, we were definitely close on that wallow when he came in. And
Was there any point where you're like, I'd be happy taking this bull, or
You're
was
like,
he just in
Josh,
position?
Josh, get out of the way. Let me shoot this bull.
no,
No.
it didn't. It didn't strike me as I really want to shoot you. I
Was-
was just I don't feel like shooting you.
Was there any decision made?
And that's something I always right away if you want to shoot something. If I'm convincing myself to shoot it, then I probably don't want to shoot that bad. And I don't know. That's just usually how if I want to shoot it, it takes this. It's this. I don't think about it. All right, I'm gonna shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to think about it, I just don't do it.
Hmm.
That's obviously something I don't want to shoot that bad.
Yeah.
And that's not, and I don't know, it doesn't necessarily depend on the size or this or that. I mean, obviously that was a young bull. Like,
Yeah,
it wasn't very big, and I don't know. That's just usually how I like to go off of it. Like, it should be, you should know it instantly. And if you don't know it instantly, then maybe you don't need to.
Not for you.
And that
Maybe
definitely
you don't need to kill it.
definitely comes with a lot of experience too.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, there's nothing worse if you go up something and you're like, God, I really didn't want to shoot this.
Yeah. It's not a feeling anyone should have.
So, I think we both had that, like, and I think we're like, we don't have regrets of not shooting that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something I look back like, oh, damn, we should have shot that bull.
Not
It's
even
like,
a
no,
little bit.
if we didn't wish, well, we were in an absolute hellhole, so that would have been a real son of a bitch to get out. And it's not even that big.
That plays a part in it too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, when you're down in a hole and you look at a bull, it's like, yeah, I'm not in love with that thing. That definitely plays into your head
Right.
because they are big.
But yeah, what ended up happening was that bull, in the video it looks like it was, 10 seconds in and out. I bet you hour and a half.
Oh, really? That bull
Milled around the wallow, and then it like looked at us, then walked over here, and then kept looking at us. And that whole time, like, we know exactly where this herd is bedded, and we know exactly where they're going. Like, we're trying to get in position for this herd. And that whole time and you can hear the elk are just moving below him, just bugling and just going by. So you're like, God damn it.
So you kind of don't want to blow them out and spook them towards other elk and the whole game plan.
Right. Yeah, so we had to wait it out. We had to wait till he left.
That's why you didn't shoot him, is because the possibility of something greater is
Oh, yeah.
right there.
Oh, yeah.
So you're like, nah.
I kept watching that and I was like, dude, this bull's going to tear apart this wallow on film. We're going to see it just rolling that thing.
He's just a little guy. He didn't know what he was doing in that wall. He was very nervous. He knew we were close.
Yeah.
But
Still cool to
Yeah.
be that close to a bull.
Yeah, then it turned into no shit sprinting. Like, these elk were pushing so hard down this ridge. Like, elk everywhere just pushing these cows, and we're up on top. And like, we can see them down below us, and we are on a dead sprint down this ridge. Just sprinting. Then we finally get to like this clearing, and we see some cows in front of us. And I give like a couple cow calls. And all like, second, elk pops up right to the left. It's like 40 yards. I'm looking at it. I'm like, all right, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh, he's looking the other direction. Josh is looking at these cows. And like, by the time he looks over and notices it, and he like it wasn't there that long. It was probably 30 seconds. Like, you had to have been seeing it and like,
Oh, yeah, this is this scene you're talking about.
yeah,
Okay, I remember
pulling
now.
back and shooting. And he looks at us, and then by the time he was like pulled back, and the bull went.
Are you trying to motion to Josh or anything?
I was so pissed after that. Because I told him, I said, dude, you're going too fast. Like,
Yeah.
we're
'Cause it's just
flying down this thing. Like, I could tell like we were getting close to being in front of him. So I was like, come on, like, hold up. Like, we're going to get to an opening.
Yeah.
And he was just fucking balls to the walls down this ridge, just flying. Like, I bet you I was like 20, 30 yards behind, and he was going down it so fast.
Yeah,
Huh.
Josh Hunt's pretty aggressive. Like, he gets after it.
Oh, he is a very fast hiker.
Yeah. Yeah, he can move. I'll attest to that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so then that happened. And then, like, we go 20 more yards, and there's another bull. Like, you can see it walking through. He bugled at us, and, like, we called a little bit, and then just could never get a clear shot.
So you think those are satellite bulls to a herd bull?
Yeah.
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 There's one point there you can hear what sounds like a herd bull, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
is
That
just,
thing is gnarly.
Yeah, I love that, man. That was like, I mean, I've watched this film several times, like through production, and I mean through the entire thing. Like, that's one part where it just like makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, just because that is like the epitome. Like,
Yeah.
when you hear a bull just rip like that, oh man, it's so good. Yeah, I wanted to see that bull bad.
Yeah, and what we actually don't have on film is, so, like, after this bull, Josh, we see it to the left of us goes, then we have another encounter, could never get a clear shot, and, like, all these cows are just running, bulls pushing, like, they're going down this trail, and we're just kind of, like, following the same thing. And there's like a ditch. The trail goes down the ditch and goes right back up, like it's a little tiny ditch. And like, we get to it and we stop and like we're talking. Mountain lion pops out of the ditch.
What?
Like 5 feet from us. Like you could tell this mountain lion was in the ditch laying down, and like all these elk were coming across. So I'm guessing like he bedded down thinking more elk were going to come down this trail. And we just stopped like, should we go this way? Should we go this way? And all of a sudden mountain lion jumps out of this ditch and runs off. And then all the elk just
Blew up.
scatter. Yeah.
Man, bad luck. That freak you out?
I was like, Jesus Christ. We about died. By a mountain lion. Nah, I wasn't going to die to a mountain lion.
Big lion?
Yeah, it was pretty big. I don't know. I've never seen one that close before.
Huh.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I feel like I could fight a mountain lion.
I don't know, man.
It's like a big angry dog.
No.
Punch it.
Oh,
Nope.
gosh.
I've only shot one lion, but I remember walking up underneath the tree and looking at that thing in the tree and just
Just-
thinking like, oh,
That could
man.
mess you
Just
up.
terrified.
About got us. About got Josh. He was in front. If he would have went a little
Would
bit
you-
further down
Would you
that
pushed
ditch,
him into it? Eat him.
take him.
So that ended the evening hunt then, afternoon.
Yeah. And by that time, that was like, we were completely empty on food.
Yeah, this is that decision time you guys had
Yeah.
to make.
And it was funny, where these elk were running were like basically taking us the opposite, like taking us back to the trailhead.
Oh, that's
So-
good.
Yeah, so we were heading the right direction the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time the spot we got to, and like we already were a couple miles closer to the trailhead, and we knew we had like 2 days left. I don't know, it's a lot of logistics to go all the way back out. Then like to get back to the good spot, like it's a ways in there. It's a lot of like hiking time instead of hunting time.
So at that point, you've been out there a week, 8 days, 7,
Yeah.
8 days, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got 2 days left.
Right.
Like, what was the decision to break it up into like 8 and 2 versus 4 and 4 or 5 and 5?
Well, I thought for sure we'd kill one in 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
You kill one in the 7-8 days, you have to go back to camp.
Right. Okay.
So then you're gonna get food. Like
Gotcha.
you're
When
hoping
you-
you kill one. If you haven't killed one in 8 days, like you're not in a good spot anyway.
Gotcha. I'm tracking.
Yeah. So I'm always like, I mean, it's kind of similar how we do it. Like if you haven't killed one in the spot and it's not going right, or
Mhm.
so if you get into a spot that's shitty and there's no elk,
Yeah.
So this
just bring like a week of food.
Right.
And if hopefully you kill one in a week, you go back and get some more food.
And we have done some hunts where we went hungry for a few days, so it's probably a good thing to have some extra.
Yeah.
This is one thing that we talked about on the last podcast episode. So you guys got back to your truck, want to resupply and food, then you had to make the hard decision. Do you leave elk to find elk?
Right. Yeah, we left elk to find elk.
Because you guys were just so frustrated about
I
like
couldn't
the
take
bad
that spot
juju,
anymore. It
You were
was
over it?
you felt like
such
you
bad luck.
and you felt like you maybe like
Dude,
touched
that
every
thing
single
was
elk.
cursed in there. That's
Are you
literally
su-
how I was thinking.
Are you
And
superstitious?
a little bit.
Are you?
I don't like being around bad vibes, man. There's bad vibes in there. And it was, so we hiked back that night, so we didn't waste any hunting time. So we were back at the trailhead, and we had 2 days left. So then you think to hike back in, like you're probably talking like, you're basically almost a full day to get back in there. You probably have like an evening to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
But like from what we were seeing in there, if you weren't on these elk, they were covering ground. Like these elk were moving miles and miles every day.
Why?
Dude, they were chasing so hard,
Is that what you
running
think?
so
You
hard.
think they're just moving cows?
Dude, every day we were going like 5 miles a different direction, 3 miles a different direction. Like they were moving so much. Like it was still kind of like a general area, but like if we weren't having our camp on our back and like staying within distance of them, like you would have to work really hard to keep on them,
Right.
for sure. Like they were covering ground every single day. So then I was thinking like we'd have a long hike back in, so that's gonna waste a lot of hunting time. Terrible luck in that place. Just cursed.
Bad memories.
So, and we had another spot that was like a lot easier to get into. Like we could get in there real quick. So, I don't know. I don't mind going to new places.
Yeah.
I don't mind
try-
seeing new country, especially with such the bad luck that we had in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is tough. It is the always thing, like leaving elk. to find elk.
Yeah. And the thought is, too, like, there isn't a lot of hunting pressure in the spot, right? You guys are kind of in your own?
Oh, no, there's
enough where it's kind of like that thought process, like if we go back, are more hunters maybe going to be in there now?
Oh, yeah, there's
Okay.
there's a decent amount. Definitely horse hunters in there for sure. Yeah, we ran into a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Are you optimistic at this point that you're going to fill permits? You got 2 days left.
Oh, yeah, it's Wyoming.
I mean,
anything can happen.
I mean, here, if you paint the picture, you hit the trailhead, you've hit a bull and you didn't find it. You've had tons of close calls, didn't work out. You pack out, you got 2 days to hunt. Is there any part of you that's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to bag this?
Not in Wyoming.
No?
There's so much elk in Wyoming. That's why I wasn't too nervous either.
Yeah.
Like it's not. I don't know. I shouldn't say this because it'll probably be bad luck. It's not that hard to find elk in Wyoming. They're almost everywhere. If you know what elk habitat looks like, you should be able. You can find them fairly quick. Yeah.
So you're still pretty optimistic.
Yeah, pretty optimistic, and I think it was the whole
your time's gonna come.
You're going to a new spot. We went to the gas station in the morning. You had some regular food. You're feeling good.
What was your first? What'd you guys get at the gas station?
I don't know, dude. I think I got a bunch of burritos and roller dogs.
Oh yeah.
Tornadoes are my go-to.
Yeah, I was gonna say you like those tornadoes.
Tornadoes are delicious.
Do you like the pepper jack cheese ones?
Oh, all of them.
Deep fried.
Yeah.
Just dirty food. You guys are feeling re-energized, motivated.
Yeah, and the spot we're going into is. We got on elk right away.
Yeah.
We ran into people though too.
Yeah, you guys called in that hunter.
Did you call in a hunter? Or did he call you?
He's calling. I'm like, if it's an elk, it's a baby. This is not I'm instantly thinking
no shade.
Let's not. I don't know if we should go even try this thing.
But then you're thinking remember that time Trail told us not to go on that bull because it was a spike and it was a nice 280 6 point.
Mm-hmm. You're God, this call sounds awful. But you're right. You're thinking of that time when you're we'll just try it. And sure enough, it was some dude calling.
Was he pretty pumped that he called you in?
Oh, he's hey. And I was hey, what's up? He's
what's up, buddy?
Oh yeah, you guys are in here pretty far. You guys camping? And they're yeah, we're gonna camp. And he's oh yeah, we're just hunting it for the day and just backing out.
Not that it ever happens to me, but you got to imagine that some dude that calls 2 other dudes in is just he's telling that story. Somewhere that guy in a bar in Wyoming is being
oh yeah, he'll probably
dude, I called Chris Neville.
He'll point to this video. Oh yeah. Well yeah, then we heard some bugles that first day we're in there. And then we camped that night and we could hear them bugling in this canyon that we're fairly close to. So we were feeling pretty good about the next morning. Then
last day, best day.
Got on them on that next day.
Do you like last days? Last day hunting? I hate it.
I love it.
Do you really?
The reason why I love it is I've said it before, but I'm gaining all that hunting knowledge throughout the whole entire week.
Do you feel like your chances are getting better
and better? And I'm learning, so I can always take that to a next hunt later on. But it's you're putting together all the pieces of the puzzle throughout that whole week. Eventually, you're going to get a layup. You're putting yourself, in the right spot. Right. You're not giving up. You're not being lazy and not hiking as far. As long as you keep doing the right things the whole week, you're setting yourself up for success towards that.
That's really really interesting perspective.
No, I get more motivated.
Yeah, luck will find you.
Because I feel I think I'm a little opposite. Maybe that means I'm a little bit pessimistic, but there's a lot of times I'm very optimistic at the first because I feel like I've done my homework. And to me, it feels like the longer I get in a hunt, almost feels like the door's closing. I feel like this impending.
You're the glass half empty guy.
I don't know. I feel this impending doom. I hate that last day. I hate a last day. That's interesting. It's a good way to look at it. That's to me. That gives me perspective to a new frame of mind to think about.
Yes. Sooner or later, luck's got to find you. If you put yourself in the position, something's got to fall your way. But it didn't. Long story short, it didn't. We did the same exact thing. These elk were going down this ridge, just going the opposite direction of us, and we're kind of with them, trying to get in front of them. Same thing. 6 point comes down from the top, just walking down. I'm oh my God, here we go. We did it. We really did it on the last day.
Yeah.
And it just stops right behind a bush. Josh is at full draw, and it just looks straight at us. Runs.
So he's in range.
Oh,
Josh is at full draw.
dude, this thing was 20 yards.
Oh man.
It's like we're on the side of a face, and like we're going, like we'd stop and cow call a couple times, and then this bull just came off the top and just coming like straight down on us, kind of angling.
Yeah, kind of like it did for us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it just stopped right behind a bush. I said, shoot through the bushes.
Not with that mechanical.
Not with that mechanical. No, but then
not gonna blast that through.
Stopped right behind the bush, ran off, and then.
Have you guys had any discussion? I mean, I'll touch on it, but you had any discussion about equipment, about mechanicals? Do you feel like mechanical is the best choice? Do you feel like it didn't matter? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it just matters where you hit it. If you hit it in a good spot, it doesn't matter what broadhead you have on there.
Right.
But then on this circumstance, though, would have something different pay dividends for you?
The thing is, I think if he would have had a fixed, it would have been a smaller broadhead. So like his chances would have been less. I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with an expandable, your chances of hitting something are better than with a fixed.
I
grew up whitetail hunting. That's what you always shoot expandables.
Yeah, I mean, I went through the same thing in that Colorado hunt. I've always killed all my deer before with mechanicals, and for some reason I decided to shoot a fixed blade on that hunt. Shot great. And then I'm second guessing myself the whole entire time. If I would have had a mechanical, I would have cut a giant hole and probably would have killed that deer.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to blame it on equipment when just at the end of the day it was my fault and didn't make the perfect shot. Should have stopped the buck instead of let it walking. And you start weighing all those decisions. It's like probably no right or wrong way to do it, but you can always have those thoughts forever.
I mean, the most important, if you hit it in the good spot, it'll.
Yeah.
99.9% of the time, it will work. Whatever broadhead you have on there, if you hit it good, it'll die.
Yeah. So you guys pull out, you get back to the trailhead. I mean, how are you feeling about it when you hit the trailhead on your way down? When you're way out, I mean, you're done.
Completely dead.
Really, just tired, spent.
My legs were just.
Yeah, you had no gas in the legs. I remember you saying.
Just dead. Like it was a full 9-day, 10-day backcountry hunt of. We were covering country.
You feel like you left it all out there?
Yeah, it's those kind of hunts. Like even though you weren't successful, like I still look at it. The only thing I like to look when a hunt's not successful in my eyes, if I wasn't even given an opportunity, like a chance. Like my thing is, I like to go out and if I can get one chance, then like I was put in a position and maybe something didn't go my way or it was my fault. But as long as I have one chance, then like I count that as a good hunt. We had plenty of chances this hunt. It just didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys were on elk. I know I've said it a lot of times, but you guys were in the right spot. Just like you were doing some of the right things. Just elk had other ideas for you.
Yep.
Yeah, when you're bow hunting elk or anything for that matter, everything has to go just right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yet you have to also have the skill and the ability to capitalize when that opportunity presents itself. But things have to go just right. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It happens. You feel good about the hunt, looking back on it? Good memories made?
It's a little bit of a...
Still a stinger?
Oh, it's a stinger.
Especially when you had to watch that film when you're producing it here 100 million times.
Because then I'd send it to Josh to get feedback. He's like, I'll just watch it once and be good.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to watch this anymore.
It's hard.
I mean, it sucked, dude. That was like the third day. Like second or third day.
Man.
Like we would have been sitting pretty to shoot to.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it was a decent bull for general season.
Yeah, but you got tags again this year.
We're back. Redemption.
Hey, there's your title of your next film, Redemption.
This is the universe saying, "All right, boys,
time to get it right."
By Blood Part 2.
I fucked you guys hard on the first hunt, but we're gonna give it to you. We'll give you some luck this time around.
First Blood Part 2.
So I was thinking of
me too. By Blood 2. I like that. You guys go? Will you guys go shirtless and wear black headbands?
Yeah, go psycho mode.
Yeah, like you're Rambo.
Explosive broadheads this time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great scene, by the way.
Hide yourself in a wallow and pop up out of it. Grab it by the brow tides.
Go crazy.
Shake things up a bit, man.
Well, it was a fun hunt to watch. I know it's tough to stomach.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the reality of hunting, and if you haven't, it gets it's cliche, I guess, maybe at this point to say, but if you haven't had that happen to you, you probably haven't hunted long enough.
Yeah, I mean,
it happens.
Just learn from it.
Always learning, right?
Yep. He's probably more dedicated, more excited than ever, huh? For get back out again, Josh.
For sure.
Who's for sure do this next time?
I don't know. He might have to give it to me.
I think he has to. I think
Move, Josh.
Get out the way.
I'm taking this down.
Yeah, I think you've earned first shooter.
But I mean, the thing about that one, I know people are going to ask, like, how come you were never up front? Or, I mean, I felt like I wasn't even supposed to really be on that hunt. I took all his points, so I didn't have any problem.
That's a really good perspective. Yeah,
I didn't have any problem letting him shoot the first. I was like, yeah, you got me on this hunt, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So,
brotherly love, man.
And he's your brother.
Yeah, it was playing in my favor at the beginning. I'm like, oh, yeah, there you go. Here's your bull.
Here's the
third
bull.
day. All right.
Right in your
I'm
lap.
gonna have 5-6 days.
Right.
But
didn't
till
work
next
out that
time.
way.
I think we're gonna go with rifles.
All right.
You're talking my language now, buddy.
That's good. That's only
Yeah,
because
take Brady with you.
I would go for sure with archery if I didn't have another bow hunt, but we got New Mexico, so
Yeah, that's
We're
true.
gonna slam.
yeah, we are gonna.
We're
slam.
gonna cut such a swath.
Woo!
In and out 3 days, just dead bulls and meat and antlers.
Yeah, it's like this time of year you start watching hunt films. Like I've been watching all of our old hunt films.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like July, you just start getting pumped.
Yep.
Like, what am I doing here? I gotta get out.
Oh, send me free.
Especially when it's 105 outside, right?
Yes.
Yeah, brutal today.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I enjoyed it. It's good film, good perspective, a lot of good lessons learned. It's fun to see, brothers hunt and get out together and share an adventure. I liked it.
Don't forget the giveaway and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need that 100K.
Need it.
We need it bad. I want the plaque.
Want that plaque.
Once we get 100K, we're putting the plaque
In the
here.
studio.
In the podcast room.
Do we each get a plaque?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get as many plaques as you want.
Yeah.
How many? I want one.
If you guys help us get to 100K, we'll give one to the fans.
One plaque to a fan?
One lucky fan.
One lucky fan. There
We're
we
going to
go
go back and pick the number one commenter who's commented on the most videos.
Oh,
I know who that guy
me too.
is.
Yeah.
My homies.
Either that, I was going to say the guy that puts us at that 100K mark, like the last guy.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Maybe he gets a plaque.
Remember
what
way
about
back?
the first subscriber?
Well, that'd be a good one, too.
Weren't you saving your subscriber?
Yeah, I still have it saved, I think.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I thought you did it on 10K.
I haven't. Well, I probably did, and I took it away.
What? I don't even know what you're talking about right
I
now.
haven't subscribed to GOHUNT yet.
Ah,
He was trying to
I'm
wait,
saving it.
saving it.
for the very last
To
one.
push us over the edge when nobody will.
That one.
Here we
he's gonna
go,
do it.
boys. 100K.
I'm gonna unsubscribe
That's
and
right,
battle
save
it out with you.
Yeah.
Let's not
save
start
'em.
that trend.
No, I'm just kidding. Yes, subscribe, like and
so much
subscribe.
cool content there.
But yeah, the film's called By Blood on the GOHUNT YouTube channel. Check it out. Take a watch. Don't leave any hater comments.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get some hater comments on this one.
Leave them.
Leave them.
Yeah. Let us know.
Sometimes I'm just open. Like if guys are going to do that, at least have an open mind. Let's have a conversation then. You know? Like don't just hate and then back away when I respond back to you. Let's have a conversation because I'm learning as well. You guys are learning. Like let's have a conversation about it. Open the doors. If you have something constructive to say, it helps other people when they read it. Then as long as we continue the conversation and both have open minds about what went on and the effort that went put into finding an animal or at the end of the day it's hunting. It's not perfect.
Yeah, and hunting. Everybody's at a different stage. Everybody's kind of trying to figure it out as they go. I think we all often expect everybody to be perfect all the time when
Right.
it comes to hunting. Pick the right moment, make the right shot. Don't be nervous. Have ice in your veins, and it's not that way. Like it's a progression of things. Like it's not black and white. Everybody's kind of on their own spectrum. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to do this thing that's really hard, which is bow hunting in this regard. And like I don't know, you got to offer I think some grace to people. Because stuff happens, and I think it's good to learn and have conversations about it.
Yeah.
Amen, Trail.
Hey,
I'll probably
pound that pulpit.
Put that in the comments, and I'll pin it at the top.
There we go.
There's your answer. If you got hate, that's the answer.
That's right.
I love haters.
We'll end it with peace signs.
Yeah. Love.
Peace.
Let's hug.
Love.
Uh,